Three players that I think the New York Jets should keep on their 53-man roster, and three players I'm hoping maybe end up on the practice squad or employed elsewhere. I think they should move on from. Number one, I think the New York Jets should keep wide receiver Brandon Smith. The 6'3", 215-pound contested catch machine. He's been the last two preseasons. Now it's 5 preseason games where he just catches everything that's thrown to him. He's physical. He has the tools to be a good blocker. And looking at this wide receiver room, like I'm just not seeing 6 dudes I'd rather throw a pass to than Brandon Smith. So I'd keep him, and I would prefer the Jets move on from Alen Lazard. So that's my first move on from is Lazard. Smith and Lazard makes an easy swap for the first two here to me. Now Lazard, his experience, he's got solid production, like wide receiver 3 to even wide receiver 2 production in this league. He's caught touchdown passes in playoff games, all that. I get it. That's fine. But the drops to me, if Smith can just catch passes at a normal clip like he has been in the preseason, the trade-off to me for sure hands is worth it if you're getting a little bit less blocking. And Lazard is a very good blocker. I won't discredit him from that. Obviously, that's going to be important. The Jets are going to run the ball more than any team in the NFL. But the drops are just such a net negative play. And if you're looking at Arian Smith, who I think is going to make some plays for this team, but he's going to put some on the turf. So if Arian Smith and Alen Lazard are both featured parts of your pass catching unit, like the likelihood that you're going to be above average and drop rate is really high. So I should move on from Lazard and go with Brandon Smith would be the first two. Next guy I would prefer the Jets to move on from is tight end Jeremy Ruckert. And it's just one of those things where, man, I really think you could get some random dude who's cut who could at least block a little bit. And then maybe they just catch passes when they're schemed wide open in the flat on play action or like a leak, whatever the case may be. But Ruckard has been actually, of all of the Jets who have been on the Jets last preseason and this preseason, have played in both preseasons, Jeremy Ruckard is the lowest graded player by PFF. This year, through 2 preseason games, out of 166 tight ends, he is 161st in PFF grade, both blocking and receiving combined. So what is it you say you do here? To quote Office Space, like make the case to me that Rucker should be on the roster without saying he was a 3rd-round pick and one time he had to be coached by Martini Nate Hackett. Like it just is what it is. We wish him the best. I don't think he's an NFL player at this point, heading into year 4. And blocking tight end, because Stone Smart is more of a receiving tight end. Mason Taylor, there's going to be growing pains with the blocking. Andrew Beck, but he's going to be moving all around, H-back, fullback. So Ruckert is kind of their like blocking tight end, I think. And I think you could make an upgrade there. It's not the most important position, but it's not nothing. And if you can make an upgrade, why not? So I think Ruckert, I'm all set with him. I would hope that the Jets keep Kane and Nwangwu, who is, I think, a special teams ace, man. He is a hidden gem on special teams. Obviously, he's a really, really good kick returner. He has 4 kick return touchdowns in his career, and it's not a ton of attempts. He is top 15 in NFL history in kick return average for his career, and he has the 2 longest kick returns in the preseason. You saw him rip one out to beyond the 40 in the preseason, and none of the other dudes that got a chance could even crack the 30. So he's the best kick returner on the team by a wide margin. He also downed that punt inside the 10-yard line from McNamara. So he's a core special teamer to me. And he averaged over 5 yards per carry on the ground in the last preseason game. They gave him some burn at running back. Obviously, if the top 3 backs are healthy, he probably won't even touch the ball at running back. He'll primarily be a kick returner. But I think the Jets putting him out there with the second team, they were like, all right, can you show us anything at running back? Because we really want to roster you as a special teamer. And I think that they should. Last year they brought the touchback, came back out to the 30-yard line, and that didn't really change teams' minds. They were comfortable just punting it out of the back of the end zone and bring it out to the 30. But now it's to the 35. Already in the preseason, you're seeing teams are much more willing to take their chances with a return. So a kick return is going to be a much more it's back. Kick returns are back now. I think that it's after the 35. So let's keep Nwangu. I just don't think there's enough talent on the bottom 5 of this roster to keep over what I think is an elite special teamer, truly. Third and final guy that I think the Jets should move on from is Derek Nottie, defensive tackle, who when they first signed him, we're like, okay, is this guy going to play the second most snaps besides Quinnen Williams? Because he's been a solid role player for really good teams through a dynasty in Kansas City, but at the same time, they let him walk for the vet minimum. He really struggled last year, and throughout the preseason, I get it. He's a run stuffer, but it's tough when you don't generate any pass rush. You know, guys we've had before, like Al Woods, who was a run stuffer, but Al Woods had a little wiggle to him, man. You give him one-on-one versus a guard in a long developing play, he could collapse the pocket. Derek Nottie offers nothing. You know, that play that was the bomb to, I forget the receiver's name, but the Russell Wilson threw that bomb to that receiver for 80 yards. Obviously, it was the Jets' backup defensive line in there mostly, but he had all day to throw. And Derek Nottie is just he didn't move. He's just stuck in place, like in quicksand, in that rep. And the only guy who got near Russell Wilson was Michael Clemens. And you know why Michael Clemens is going to be on this team? Because the edge players we have behind him on the depth chart are worse than him at playing football. That's why Michael Clemens is going to be on the team. It's not a conspiracy, because Braden McGregor and Eric Watts and Rashad Weaver and Tyler Barron are worse at football than Michael Clemens. So if he could stop committing dumb penalties, he's better than those guys. It is what it is. He beat a double team on that play, and he got to Wilson late. So I'm good with Derek Nottie. I think you can roll with Quinnen, Cowart, Tefele, and Leonard Taylor. Now, Quinnen is obviously, he's going to be a starter, play 65% of the reps. Leonard Taylor, I think we like his potential to be a situational interior pass rusher, play 20, 22, 25% of the snaps, maybe with a ceiling that goes higher than that if he can play better against the run. And Tefele and Cowart, obviously Tefele, the coaches have raved about him in camp. The first preseason game, he looked like freaking Aaron Donald. Not much in the second one. And Cowart is a player, just my 2 cents. I kind of liked Cowart. To me, this defensive line, I think that one more edge player is needed more so than a defensive interior. So I'm cool with Quinnen, Cowart, Tefele, and Leonard Taylor as your 4 interior players, and you can cut Nottie. That's how I'd see it. And finally, I hope they keep Jarek Bernard-Converse, cornerback. Now, we talked about players who have been on the Jets the last 2 preseasons combined. Rucker is the lowest graded player. Jarek Bernard-Converse is the highest graded player. He was the 4th overall highest graded player in his first preseason game of this year yesterday, and overall through his that's totaling 4 preseason games last year and this year, he's the highest graded Jet. He's just super sticky in coverage. He doesn't miss tackles. He doesn't commit penalties. And even remember the last preseason, the Jets played the Commanders, and Jaden Daniels dropped a dime into a bucket, a teardrop to a receiver for a long gain. And that was on Converse's tab there, but it was perfect coverage. It was textbook perfect coverage. So the biggest play that would negatively impact his analytic profile in the preseason so far was actually perfect coverage. He's been awesome. So I don't know, maybe he just sucks at practice and turns it on during preseason, but to me, I think he's been better than Stiggers. AZ Thomas isn't even practicing. So if there's an injury at boundary corner, I think JBC should be the next man up. And same with in Nwangu. Like, there's just not enough talent on the bottom of this roster where I'm going to keep some mediocre 10th defensive lineman or some like practice squad worthy 7th receiver. Like, keep a kid who could potentially be a starter for you in the future, or at minimum a primary backup. If you're looking 3 years down the road when Stevens is gone, maybe AZ Thomas is your starter and JBC is your whatever. He's just good enough to keep around in the fold, in my opinion. And we'll talk about soon.